really? Hi, I'm Iliana Limon-Romero here with Alicia DelGallo, ready to talk soccer.
Yeah.
We've had all kinds, Orlando Pride, Orlando City, even though they haven't necessarily been in action, we've still been keeping tabs on these teams. And then Copa. It's been quite the whirlwind since we last had a show, and it's great to be back answering reader questions that came in via Twitter. First up, though, Alicia, before we get started, you can send questions to @OSLions. We will try to catch a few of them toward the end of the show. We have some that have already been submitted. Thank you all so much for sending those in. So first, let's look back at where things stand. So we had Orlando City coming into a break. Can you catch us up on how the Lions are doing?
Yes, so they had last week off, and they started training again on Monday. And this week they've just been slowly ramping up the intensity of the workouts, getting prepared for the U.S. Open Cup game up at Jacksonville on Wednesday, and then right back into MLS play Saturday with San Jose at Camping World Stadium. So this week, like I said, we've slowly seen them getting the intensity back. Some of the guys went home to see family, went on vacations last week, got a nice break, recovered, using this time to heal some knocks and some bruises and little injuries here and there too.
Very good. Orlando Pride also had a break. Thoughts on sort of the international play? We saw Alex Morgan obviously have a tremendous performance while she was playing for the national team. Any thoughts on where she's at right now and what she's delivering so far, both for the national team and for the Pride?
Yeah, I mean, Alex is just really coming into her own, scoring that goal for the U.S. team. All the Pride fans were celebrating on social media, so that was a great moment for her, and I think she's just going to continue that. I think playing in these games for her is going to give her momentum for when she comes back with the Pride to help them out.
All right, so last thing, Copa games here. A unique experience getting to see some international soccer in this venue. Talk about just that experience and checking out some of these teams.
Well, the first two games, the first game was good, but the attendance was a little low. The teams complained of the heat because it started at 5 in the afternoon. Fans complained of the heat. And then there was a tropical storm for the second one. So I was actually impressed, like I said before, that so many fans showed up in the middle of a tropical storm. I was invited to some, rain parties in the tailgate area. So that was fun. But yeah, the last game last night, Brazil-Haiti, that was the game everyone was waiting for. It delivered 7-1, tons of goals, tons of action, tons of passion from the fans, about 30,000 fans there, even though I thought it looked like more. A lot of us there thought it looked like more, so I'm not sure about that number, but announced attendance, almost 30,000, and there's just a lot of passion, and that was the type of game that people were hoping for with these Copa games.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get an opportunity to talk a little bit more about Copa down the line as we go. We've got some fantastic reader questions. Thank you to all of you who have sent them to @OSLions in advance. I've been checking my phone here because we're looking for any other questions that come in. So if you've got more, send them in now. But first, let's get started. First question that I see, Chris, Orlando County SC, very popular Orlando City fan, tweets in quite often. Thank you so much. Any word whether the bench time and chance to reset mentally has helped Nocerino at all? Or is it turning into the disaster we fear?
The disaster we fear. I did speak with Nocerino earlier this week through a translator, and he said that he is feeling good, he's feeling fit, he's still working towards that goal of match fitness. He acknowledges that it's been tough and he's working towards it, and it's been a little bit of an adjustment to come here, but he is training in full with the team still every single day, still looking good in training. He never didn't look good in training, so it's just a matter of if he can start translating that into games. That I'm not sure if Orlando City is willing to take those risks again, depending on where he is in training. So that's still to be seen. They have time to decide on that before they start MLS play again. But he said he's happy with the team right now. They're happy with him, and if that ever changes, then they can part ways. But for now, he's working towards getting to where all of you hope he will be.
I will say, aside from the price tag, it doesn't seem that he's as much a distraction as maybe some fans may feel that he is at this point. Without him in the lineup, they're making adjustments and they're giving other players opportunities, and seems very popular amongst his teammates.
Yeah.
Very well liked, and is a hard worker in training. So as much as it may be frustrating not to see him come through and produce at a level you would expect for the salary and for the steps they went through to get him, certainly seems like he's still contributing to the club.
It's tough too. I know that everybody wants to see him perform right away, but it still hasn't been that long. It takes a little more than just 2 months intermittent play in games for these guys to get acclimated and get up to the level that they need to be at. So there's still time. I don't think they're going to give up on him so soon.
I think the other interesting thing we heard from a lot of Copa teams, and some of them admittedly had brutal travel schedules, one team coming from here, going all the way to California and then back to the Northeast. That's pretty crazy. That has happened pretty consistently, though. But they do legitimately say the travel is grueling, and that's another part of that adjustment. It contributes to many challenges. A lot of these players, typically within the leagues they played in previously overseas, it's an hour or two to get to the furthest road destination, and they truly are road trips. They don't really have to get on planes, so completely different experience. All right, our next question from OCSC Blog, another popular user. Thank you so much for checking in with us, OCSC Blog. 1, injury updates. 2, Notarino updates. So we've touched on Notarino, but injuries.
Rafa Ramos, he should be 100%. Adrian, he said by the end of this week. Rafa kind of said maybe by the beginning of next week. But soon he'll be ready. Kaká still in Brazil, recovering from his injury. It was a thigh injury with him, and he'll be in Brazil recovering. He should be back before they return to MLS play to finish his recovery here, and so that they can evaluate him and see if he will be ready in time for the San Jose game. And who else was there? Oh, Darwin, we expected him to be out 5 to 6 weeks. It's been 4. Are we at the 4 mark yet? 3 or 4? And they're slowly, he said, Adrian said he had an injection last week, and they're still evaluating. He's recovering a little more slowly.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. I think he's definitely was a breakout player last season and someone that they really want to just make sure that he's fully fit before they rush him along. I think that trend we saw early in the season is definitely going to continue. All right, next set of questions. Luis G. Hernandez, radioactive clown?
There's been a lot of people buzzing about this on the internet today. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Any talk on Orlando Pride trading for Caitlin Ford from Sky Blue?
And you were at Pride training, so I'll let you take this one.
All right, so consistently, Tom Servani says that he is pleased with his roster. They are happy with the lineup that they have. They are good with where they're at the moment. Now, it doesn't mean that they wouldn't go after a player acquisition and someone of a great talent level, but for right now, this seems like there's a lot more fan buzz and support behind it than there is necessarily any maneuvers behind the scenes. This is something that you had actually gotten some information about before, too. It seemed like when this was first starting to bubble up, the chatter that we were hearing internally from the club was pretty much the same, that, well, certainly you don't turn down a great player, but...
but it wasn't something that was moving along or that they were actively pursuing at the moment.
Yeah, I think they feel pretty good about the lineup that they have now. Like I said, not to say they would turn down a superstar, but I wouldn't necessarily think that this move is imminent at the moment.
Cool.
So, but
next.
All right, next question up from Derek at Rays1299. Thanks again to everybody who's checked in with us. Derek asks, 1, Pride expecting the full squad for the game this Saturday, 6/11. And USOC only allows 5 internationals. Who do you think will be the 5? So first up, the Pride. So had a chance to talk with Tom Servani while you were talking with Adrian Heath. We split up to try to hit everywhere we possibly could. This is what having so many popular soccer teams in town does for you. It's a lot. It's a lot to keep up with. Servani says yes, he feels like they are going to be 100% healthy. The only wild card is Laura Alloway. She is coming all the way from Australia, so directly to the game in Rochester, the next game on Saturday. So depending on how she handles that 20-hour flight, since there's nothing direct from Australia to Rochester, That's the only wild card for them. She missed one game with the national team, but she did play the second one and came through without any injuries. Both the medical team and player herself said that she was fine. All the other players who had knocked up had different injuries, various bumps, bruises, issues are all clear. The other thing that happened, very unexpected, it turns out that Sarah Hagan was not the only player who had an injury or an illness issue during their last loss.
Really?
Apparently there was some food poisoning that went through the team. Apparently there were multiple players. Yes, this is a trend.
Yeah.
So there were multiple players on the trip at FC Kansas City, the last loss, who were playing through that game with food poisoning. So
I wonder if that's what Kyle Larin has. Did you see that tweet?
Yeah.
Kyle Larin was replaced in Canada's lineup the other day because he was sick, and we're not sure what the sickness was.
Apparently we're going to have to work with everybody on their menu planning. That's what's got to happen, because as Alicia mentioned, she did miss a game because of food poisoning as well. So hoping to stay clear of all this.
Stay away from chicken wings.
All right, there you go. So yes, the Pride expected to be full strength. They're very excited about having the full complement, the full lineup there. USOC only allows 5 internationals. Who do you think will be the 5? So, I mean, hard.
It's hard. It's hard to say right now. We really have to wait and see who's healthy and who's back, and we'll have a better idea of that later in the week, and I'll reply to you, reach out to you directly and let you know that. But it is a little bit early to say right now because they're just slowly getting back into things right now. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll get back to you probably early next week. We'll know more.
So just for some background, that's a U.S. Open Cup game. The way it happens is the amateur championship actually amateur pro, all levels championship of soccer in the United States. Long-running tournament, always the dream of some group of amateur players to run through and rise through the ranks. It hasn't happened, but why is this important? Let's remind people, why does this matter so much to Orlando City, and why might they put some of their better players on this roster when other teams might just think of it as an exhibition they don't really need to worry about?
So they played Jacksonville in the preseason, and they respected them, even though it's seen as a lesser team, an NASL team, but they respect Jacksonville, and they know how much fight Orlando City had in them when they were a USL team trying to gain the respect, and there were players on the team who wanted to move into MLS, so they're not taking any of these games lightly, and it's, getting a U.S. Open Cup would be huge for Orlando City, and Adrian, he said last year that it was a big priority for them, and they fell just short, so they're looking to make that push this year.
Yeah, what triggers with the championship, of course, is international soccer playing opportunities. They want to continue to build the global brand. They want, when players are available for acquisition from Europe, you want to be a known and respected club, not just one that already has some pieces, but you want to be highly competitive. And this is another opportunity to continue to make strides and to continue to improve. So that's why it's so hard to say. If it wasn't something that the club was taking as seriously, it'd be pretty easy to figure out what the cut list is.
Exactly.
But because they are taking it so seriously, and because they even, for part of last year, had Kaká up for selection for that sort of thing, that just showed you it meant a lot. All right, so next question up on the list, KTA. And I am not sure how to...
You always screw this one up. You never know.
Tell me how to say
I don't know either.
Well, yeah, thanks. Okay, I appreciate that. Why don't you, if you get a chance, if you can tweet at us and let us know how to pronounce your handle, but...
I think it's just KTA, right?
KTA?
Like his thing says.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
KTA. Going strictly off what I saw on Twitter, does Kaká really have his own training program set for running the team?
No. Yeah, so I saw this a lot. I think people were misinterpreting a little bit of what Kaká does. Kaká does train with the team. He goes through the same training as the team does. He's with them every single day. He does everything that they do. He also, being a veteran and knowing the importance of maintaining his body and living a healthy lifestyle, he will do additional things on the side to take care of himself and do things that he needs to do because he knows his body so well. And he also had a personal trainer who now is still his personal trainer, but now also works with the rest of the team. with the club. So his trainer that everybody's talking about, does work with the other players in the club as well, but yes, began as Kaká's personal trainer. So he does follow the training regimen as the rest of the team. He just knows his body so well and is such a veteran that he does additional things that he needs to do to keep himself fit.
Yeah, and I think that the other part of that too is Adrian Heath was hoping that these training practices, this good health, good body maintenance would rub off on the rest of the team.
Yes.
That's absolutely why they adopted some of these principles. And I encourage you, if maybe you have not read as much about Kaká's training regimen, I would look up Tom Brady. Tom Brady has renowned regimen that he goes through to try to extend his career. Don't hold it against her that she's a Patriots fan. It's okay. So anyway, he has a long regimen. If you look at that, Kaká basically is the Tom Brady of the Orlando City Soccer Club and really of MLS in terms of...
I won't walk off for that American sports analogy.
Ouch. Ouch. No, seriously, though. The training regimen and the level of commitment that he puts in, it's very comparable. You wouldn't necessarily say that putting in the extra hours beyond the club training is detrimental. It's just different. And yes, I am aware that she walked off for a bad sports analogy by Mike Bianchi last night, and that was totally appropriate. But I think mine was much more accurate.
Well, any analogy with the Patriots is fine by me.
Okay. All right, next question. Trey Helwig, at Trey Helwig. Have the OC teams had a successful international break?
Yeah, well, first, the international break isn't over for them, so they are currently having a successful international break. They got much needed rest. The players who needed healing are healing, and now they're starting to, like I said, get back into the flow of things, ramp up the workouts, and you just saw a general sense of, I think, unity and calmness with the team that they really needed. They needed to kind of chill out. They were anxious about their performances going into the break. They were frustrated, and now you're seeing they kind of chilled out, took a step back. They've regrouped. They're really focused, and they're in good spirits.
So where exactly did the Orlando City players go to chill out? Some of them went off together.
Some of them went to the Bahamas.
All right.
And I was told today that while they were there, Breck proposed and is now engaged.
Congratulations to Breck Shea.
Congratulations, Breck. And others went home, see family, so it was good.
Good opportunities. Also from the Pride side, as I mentioned, tons of energy. Now, they came off a loss. I know I mentioned the food poisoning, the illnesses, the call-ups, but they were still very upset that they lost and disappointed with that performance. So I think many of them were kind of chomping at the bit to get back. They wish they could have played like that Wednesday.
Yeah.
Not obviously possible, but they were pleased that they could spend some time. Some of them went home as well. They got some opportunity to get some time away from training. Some spent time staying in Orlando, hitting theme parks, going to the beach.
Yeah.
All very good to recharge, and now they're
all seen on the Instagrams and Twitters.
Raring and ready to go. Yes, raring and ready to go. Very excited about this opportunity on Saturday to try to chase a win and get back on track. And then separate from that, OCB, I think, benefited from this break as well because a lot of the players that are loaned down or kind of float back and forth between, the MLS squad and their squad had an opportunity to work together. We saw something special for Harrison Heath during this period. He got his first goal for OCB. So that was a good opportunity.
I was like, we did?
We did.
Yes,
we did.
We did.
He had quite a run.
And Harrison and a lot of the other guys were training with MLS today again. So
there you go. Good run. I think that's a successful international break. All right, next question. Nick Baggio, NY 10515 is how I'm going to say that. Here is a Copa question. Despite the crowd, did Orlando do enough to host another international event? Last night was amazing.
I think just like you said, despite the crowd and despite the weather, things ran smoothly. The stadium looked good. Everything that needed to happen happened. It was run very much like a World Cup, where with the press conferences and the teams coming in and out, and the grass was maintained. There were no mishaps with the grass that they laid down, so that's a huge thing. Some of the coaches mentioned that the ball was a little slower on that grass than typical, and of course they mentioned the weather, but other than that, they said that the city took really great care of them and they thought the facility was great. So I didn't see anything horrendous that would hurt their chances at getting another
Yep,
Right?
absolutely.
Okay.
U.S. Soccer, which is the host kind of sponsor of this event, and which would eventually bid for the crown jewel, what everyone here is hoping for, the 2026 World Cup, had said that they understood that attendance was going to be light in various venues during the opening round. They set the ticket prices high, and they set them before the draw was announced. So that meant maybe some of the lower profile matchups were going to be tough to fill. They understood that, and they were looking for something in a general average of about 40,000 per game was the dream scenario across all venues. And right now they're just under that, but once Mexico plays, I think, in the Rose Bowl and they sell out that place, which is expected, then you're going to get the numbers that they were trying to hit. I think Orlando is still very much respected for a growing amount of fan support, and if people want to continue to see international soccer here, the trick is to just keep showing up for Orlando City and Orlando Pride games. That's how you're going to make that happen.
I think if turnout had been disappointing for the Brazil game, that would have been a different story, but that was really the game to see, what Orlando could do, and I think they responded.
All right, there we go. Next question.
Two-parter, first part's on the bottom.
Yes, this one is from Orlando City SC Brazil. I'm glad we were able to pull that up all together. So, consider that the real fun games haven't even started yet for Copa America 2016. Quarterfinals are usually pretty good, and semis are phenomenal, and the finals are great. After all that, do you think there will be any SA fans, or are the Americans just going to stick to EPL? So, are we looking at a broader audience of fans?
I think so. I mean, I think you just look at the cross-section of tourists and visitors, especially in Central Florida, and you can see that there's a huge cross-section of fans here, not just EPL, all over the globe. It showed in the game last night, and I think, Florida might have more of an influx of South Americans than other areas of the country, but I think that each area has their own tourists and their own visitors and their own support for different nations around the world other than the European leagues.
All right. Next question coming up, not a two-parter, which is a little easier. Garrett Weiss at Strength of Sphere. Thank you, by the way, everyone who's been asking questions, and we're looking for just a couple more on Twitter. Last call, absolute last call, because we're just going to be looking at those after the next few questions. Status of the new training facility.
All right, we got this question I think about 2 weeks ago, and I haven't received an update since then, but the update that I did get on it is that it is on schedule to open in 2017 when it was supposed to, and I'm trying to get a tour to let you guys know what it looks like and what's going on, but I do know that Orlando City's groundskeeper has been going back and forth.
That's the most important part, is it not?
Yeah, looking at things. There seems to be an assistant of his now around that is at the practice fields when he's out doing other things. So that's a good sign that things are moving along. So if he's on the case, then I think they'll be on track.
Now, take people back who maybe are not as familiar. Why is this guy so important? Why are we making a big deal out of the groundskeeper facility guy?
Because he handles everything. He's in charge of all of their practice fields. He's going to be in charge of all of their new practice fields. He's going to be in charge of their new stadium field. And he is just invaluable. He just loves grass, Matt Brudrick. And I know people had fun with that title when we put it out back in April. But he loves it. He loves his job. He went to school for it. He worked with Major League Baseball. He's just so dedicated to making sure that the fields are absolutely perfect. And there's a whole bunch of science that goes into it that he told me all about, and I forgot half of it, but he's really good at it. And he measures everything. He can tell if there's dry spots in the field. He can tell if it's a little longer than Adrian Heath likes just by looking at it. You'll see him squatting. We'll see him squatting like at the ends of the fields, just staring at the grass during training. And we all kind of watch and see how long he's going to sit there and just stare at one piece of grass. But he's really good, and he's been going back and forth and working on it. So
the players can't say enough about his fields and how the quality of it, and what a great opportunity it's been to work on them, including Kaká, who has seen many of the most prestigious pitches in the world. Definitely says his home training facility is among the best. Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. All right, so next question. This is going to be the last one that was sent in advance, and then we did get at least one so far.
We did.
All right, so it can't be a show without Kyle Meardo, Meards Beards. Any news on...
I want to know the background of that name.
I mean, I think it's... Well, okay.
What's the beards part?
I just
Doesn't
think it
look
rhymes.
like he has a beard in the picture.
It rhymes.
He doesn't have a beard.
He doesn't have a beard.
But
That's
it
what I'm saying.
rhymes. All right, Kyle, let us know what the history is or what the story is behind the handle. But the question, more important, any news on Roches? Wasn't even in the 18 last OCB game.
Yes, Roches has had a tough year. He missed preseason. He's struggling to play catch up, dealing with the injuries that he's had, and I think he's just, the teams are getting picked based on who needs minutes and who's looking the best in trainings for OCB, and he just wasn't in that selection this week.
Yep.
So if the question is if there's anything wrong with him, no, there's not anything wrong with him physically, but I just think he's still working and struggling to get back to, a fit level where he can keep up in matches with everybody else who had the benefit of a full preseason to work through.
All right, so we have a couple questions that came in exclusively here. First one, Orlando City SC Brazil wanted to clarify. He meant, are American fans leaning toward more South American styles of play, or are they looking for more of an EPL flair? So, I mean, everybody loves active, fun soccer. I mean, anyone who saw that Brazil match was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I think the exposure and that opportunity is part of it. What do you think?
I really don't like generalizing huge groups of people and answering for them. It's really tough. I really honestly think there's a good, healthy mix of both types of people here. I didn't know that there was a lack of people who didn't like South American style play. I think everybody gets excited for Brazil and for the South American teams to come and respect them, and I just think that there's a good mix.
I agree with that. I think the other thing that's part of it is that there's a lot to be said for the TV contract. The TV contract that NBC Sports has with the EPL has really helped it grow tremendously. It's extremely accessible. You can watch it on Saturday mornings. It's become part of what sports fans have easily gotten acclimated to. And I think there is a little bit of a language barrier at times for the Spanish language and Portuguese language broadcasts that can be a bit of a challenge for some fans to follow. But there's no question during the World Cup that people love watching fast-paced, aggressive, beautiful soccer. Yeah. And that is coming from many of the South American teams.
And if there's a language barrier, all you have to do is watch and keep the Twitter up and then hit the view translation button on all of the live tweets.
There you go. There you go. There are many ways around it, and I think the audience continues to grow. We're breaking down so many barriers. Yeah. I saw Alex Morgan tweeted a schedule for the next month, probably about a week ago, that showed tremendous international soccer on TV every single day because of the Copa America tournament and because of the Olympics and because of the Euro Cup. I mean, there's just so many options. It's just very exciting, and I think that audience is only going to continue to grow as people worry less and less about those language barriers and worry less and less about how they're going to get it. They find a way to find it. And great soccer, fun to watch, those crowds are going to be rewarded and keep coming back. All right, so Steve 19 at Steve Flarmature. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I probably totally did. Do you see OCB? Okay, do you see OCB playing in Orlando next year? It doesn't seem like Brevard is embracing the club. I've heard this question a lot. I've heard some buzz about this. Thoughts?
That's a tough one. It would be really tough to schedule their games and also around Orlando City's and Orlando Pride's games in the same stadium. So I think that's where they'd run into issues maybe. And then also the wear and tear of 3 teams playing on the same field would be something they would need to consider. Now, if you're, and I wouldn't see them playing at a different stadium in Orlando. If they were going to play in Orlando, they would play at Orlando City Stadium. So that's something that they have to consider for this developmental team, which is what they're looking for. They're not really looking to, make tons of money and have huge crowds. They want good crowds over there, but can they fit them all on one field?
So here's the wild card, I would say. If there was an agreement with the county that they were going to develop the press box and develop certain amenities for them. If they, for whatever reason, don't come through on that agreement, then I could definitely see them looking elsewhere potentially. Possibly even if this new practice facility happens to have enough seating and enough of an option for them to put a viable venue in there. But that's an extra expense on top of building a stadium and building a ton of other things. So I don't know that that's necessarily they're going to be their first choice. Would it be nice if they were closer? I'm sure that's nice for a lot of people, but at the same time, there was a reason for just a bit of the distance in that you want to be able to have the local communities embrace as much as you can the various clubs.
They didn't want to oversaturate, and that was a big question when they announced that they were going to bring in a women's team and OCB in the same year. A lot of people were worried that they were going to oversaturate the market and there weren't going to be enough fans to go around, and they just really thought that by having them over on the Space Coast, it would prevent that.
So I think it's a little early unless the county is not coming through with what was expected for year 2, which is some minimum expectations for USL. They're allowed in that first season to get by without all of the amenities of the facilities being set, but they've got to ramp up and finish up what's expected. Otherwise, I think they give it a little bit more time out there.
I agree.
All right, that was our last question, last stoppage time question. I didn't see any others. So what are you looking forward to this week ahead? We've got Orlando Pride playing, and it's still a little bit more rest before Orlando City starts US Open Cup play. What are you hoping to see this weekend?
I'm really, this weekend or in the next
the week ahead.
I thought I had this weekend off. In the week ahead, I'm hoping to really see the pieces start to come together, fall into place for Orlando City. I saw, Brock stayed after today working on his finishing. He was actually training in midfield still because they're a little unsure of the injuries and who's going to go where. So I'm interested to see how he progresses there and if we see any movement with him going back on defense or staying in the midfield, and just seeing how they all come together and perform after this break. It'll be really interesting to see if they can come out of this with a surge of energy that they were kind of lacking. That was one of the main gripes, was the lack of energy and intensity and passion on the field when they were playing the past few weeks. So I think that the bonding that they've had over the few weeks, the rest that they've had, and the kind of development that they're doing these next few weeks will show.
All right, I'm looking forward to seeing the Orlando Pride and seeing if they bounce back from what they felt was a pretty disappointing performance, seeing how the team comes together. And it's always unclear. They've got a good chunk of their international players who are going to be coming in and joining them directly in Rochester. That requires a level of comfort and trust, and we'll see how much that team has developed it already. How does that group blend? Those who haven't been in training blend in with those who have been there for a while. It will be very interesting to see. We are going back to Tuesday lineup now that we're done with the Copa. We're going to go back to every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. You can send your questions at any time to @OSLions on Twitter, but especially Monday and then into Tuesday, we get the latest updates from you all based on what you've seen recently and what questions are on your mind. The earlier you get them to us, the more the opportunity for us to find out what some of the answers are. So if you've got some particular pressing ones, it gives us an opportunity to ask coaches to go track down answers for you. That's what we love to do, work for you.
Yes.
So, all right. With Alicia DelGallo, I'm Iliana Limon-Romero, and thanks for joining us.